Okay, so two-part question. The first part comes to mind as you just explained that. I know a lot about the churn rates of some of the standalone streamers. I don't know very much about the stability and health of Amazon Prime Video, and so I'm wondering whether we have any insight there. And what does Amazon want out of this deal?
I mean, who knows?
Do they have
We
so
don't
much
get
money
very
that it
many
doesn't
numbers.
matter?
No, it's not. I mean, this is my overall frustration, which I'm always happy to talk about the insufficient reporting of sort of these large entities that have so many bits and pieces. And Prime Video, to your point, it's a small part of Amazon's business. So there's actually is a justification. It's not material. So it's actually okay. They don't break out numbers and things along those lines.
Hmm.
But it sort of speaks to the mismatch of the size of these companies to the overall economy. It matters hugely to Amazon's competitors. It matters hugely to the NBA what numbers they have, what is their profitability. It doesn't matter hugely to Amazon because they're so large. It's kind of like one of the costs of just the size mismatch. We think about all these companies. Oh, there's Disney. Oh, there's Time Warner Discovery. Oh, there's Amazon. Amazon is like Amazon relative to these companies is like these companies relative to Stratechery. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Amazon
this
is the
huge
company
mismatch.
that's draining the oceans and killing God at that famous tweet. They are basically the most powerful company in the world relative to the other companies here. And even when you talk about putting basketball on streaming, for instance, Peacock has a tiny audience, but Amazon Prime, everyone I know in my life has Amazon Prime and theoretically has access to Prime Video, but I just am curious as to whether or not that audience actually materializes on that
Yeah,
platform.
so
I don't know.
I think the value to Amazon is they will tell you that Prime Video does actually drive some number of acquisitions. I'm not sure. I think it's probably more churn. There's a churn mitigation aspect. If you're used to watching stuff on Amazon Prime, that's a reason to not cancel Amazon Prime, and then you'll buy more stuff because you have free shipping.
Mm,
There's also an aspect of they have the Amazon Marketplace or Channels Marketplace where they sell subscriptions to other streaming services. You already have Amazon Prime. That's a reason to be in that sort of ecosystem. And then they
right.
get sort of a fee from all those other streaming services along the way. And they were very early on this. And YouTube TV or YouTube generally is trying to mimic this. Apple obviously has a game here, but Roku does. But this is sort of a big thing for Amazon and an important part of their business. The other big thing is they're trying to build, like everyone else, a streaming advertising business. They did what I think is a very smart thing, and to some extent, they have more ability to do this because Amazon people aren't signed up for Amazon Prime for Amazon Prime Video necessarily, where they
Hmm.
changed the default to ads, and you pay to get out of ads. Whereas Netflix and Disney, you started out default no ads, and if you want to go to ads, you need to unilaterally change your subscription
Yeah.
plan. And so they'll raise prices to try to push you to this. But I think there's
It worked
defaults
on me.
matter. Yeah, no, I mean
Yeah.
like, and you take something, and so the advantage, and this is a classic thing. Sports are great for building an ad business, right? You get a lot of eyeballs, you get a lot of scale, and that ideally will pay off across sort of the rest of your streaming service. Obviously, Amazon's in general just building up they have the closed loop. We talked about this closed loop in the context of TikTok. You have inventory, in this case video inventory, that theoretically you can tie back to a purchase. Now, this is a fuzzier problem. Are we going to actually expect people to be watching an NBA game and then, you know, see something and buy it on Amazon or hold up a QR code? Or maybe we'll get there,
Hmm.
or we get direct response. But there's at least a lot of the pieces there to build something very interesting. And obviously, this is Netflix is going for this. Everyone's going for this. Advertising is the great hope for growth, which makes sense. Advertising is the right match for an attention-based business. It's a way to increase revenue without increasing churn, because the increased revenue is not coming from your consumers, it's coming from the advertisers, and it's coming from the advertisers because you're delivering value to them.
Right.
You're delivering value to them because people watching it are actually getting something from the advertising. Like advertising is
Well,
can
particularly
be
during sports when there are natural breaks, there's a
that's right.
lot more inventory that you can sell during a 3 hour basketball game than there is during a 1 hour show, for
And I
instance.
think, to go back to Netflix, they're not ready to compete for NBA level sports rights, right? NBA is still again, the takeaway here is they're still in the position to extract your revenue from you. But you fast forward, if the linear networks are really and truly dead, a lot of these streaming services are really struggling, then suddenly maybe they'll be a little more humble about their revenue requests, a little less leverage. And then Netflix ideally will have an advertising business that is scaled up, that is built all the foundation that we're talking about, such that it's actually more attractive to them because they know they can monetize it really effectively. And so I do think having an advertising model, this is very obvious. I always said Netflix would never, ever get sports. But that changed once they got advertising. You like once you have advertising,
and the difference
then
between
makes
Amazon and Netflix is Amazon just has more money to play with right away and doesn't have to bide its time for 5 years before.
Well, Amazon has the third largest ad business in the world. I mean, so they like now again, the 90% of that is Amazon.com advertising, but they have more infrastructure here. They have more sort of building here. So yeah, and so I think there's a lot that sort of is driving this in general. And Netflix really wants to be your default TV, right? And they want to be the TV that's on in the background. And, you know, we see those numbers. The average American watches 17 hours of TV a year, some crazy thing that's hard to relate to. But then you remember, like, oh, yeah, there's actually just TV on all the time for sort of a lot of people. Netflix definitely wants to be that. Amazon wants to be your habit partner for everything, right? Like you buy stuff, you go to Amazon. You do XYZ, Amazon. And I think there's a bit where I think they're doing this NBA deal, or reportedly. There's also talk, what are they going to do with sort of RSNs in the sort of these local rights? And by the way, this is the other thing about the NBA thing to think about. A proper evaluation of this, in the doubling, tripling, should probably be what's the total television revenue, including RSNs? Because the RSNs, as we've talked about, are just getting obliterated. So that's kind of going away. Yeah. And so, but I think Amazon, like, more stuff that's just habit stuff, right? If you just always go and turn on the game, that's a good thing. The reality is, though, is there's not a lot of people on that for local games. So I think this is more an opportunistic, no one wants this stuff, so hey, we'll take it. Sort of play by them.
Well, and I don't think that Amazon's been all that worried about costs along the way. I found the tweet: "We're a modest company with modest goals. 1, sell a quality product at a fair price. 2, drain the world's oceans so we can find and kill God." That is Amazon, and the takeover continues here.
What's that tweet from? I haven't heard that one before.
I'll put it in the show notes.